Hello, and welcome to episode 5 of Freelancing Fight Club. I'm Jennifer Marsh.
And I'm Christine Ashton.
In our last podcast, Christine interviewed me about how I've used the freelancing website Upwork as my main client acquisition method. In this episode, we're going to turn the tables, and I'm going to ask Christine about how she finds clients. And interestingly enough, she is very successful outside of Upwork.
Yes, I've got my energy drink ready, just like you've got your energy drink, except mine is a beer. I'm ready to go. So, yes, I have found some good clients on Upwork, but I'm nowhere near as successful on the freelancing websites as you are. You're just crazy successful. I've had to get out there and get down in the trenches, find clients in other ways. Websites like Upwork didn't even exist when I started freelancing.
So we'll start with question number one, just a general question. Where do you mainly find your clients?
My big secret is that I talk to people. Talking is my secret. I go to networking events, I ask clients for referrals, I chat with other freelancers online. I have friends who have hired me or referred me to other people. Basically, the more people you know, the more opportunities you'll have. My very first clients were referrals from friends. I had one friend who recommended me to his boss because they were looking for somebody to work on their website. I had another friend whose mother was a newsletter editor and she needed a graphic designer to do the layout. That one referral turned out to be a regular gig, and I ended up designing their newsletter every 2 months for over 10 years.
Yeah, that was amazing. Okay.
But I also approached strangers when I was starting out. One day I designed a very simple flyer with a list of my services, ran them off on my desktop printer. Then I walked up and down one of the streets in my neighborhood, talked to local businesses, and handed them out. And if the owner or the manager was available, I just flat out asked if they had any work for me. And I did get one job from that, redesigning menus for a local restaurant. So that worked out fine, and it didn't require a huge expenditure of time or money.
So you're Little Miss Social Butterfly. That's amazing. That's really cool. So, what if someone would like to do this kind of thing, but they're introverted and find it difficult to talk to strangers? What advice would you give?
Well, that wandering around and asking total strangers for work was not easy for me either. I don't think I'm a natural salesperson or all that extroverted. And I really had to psych myself up to do that. And I definitely didn't enjoy it. But there are lots of other ways to expand your network. Like you can join your local chamber of commerce, or you can find out what other kinds of groups are available for businesses where you live. I use the website meetup.com to find a lot of the events that I go to these days. And I'll put the link in the comments. With Meetup, you can find groups for small businesses, groups for freelancers, groups for people who worked in specific industries. It's a lot easier to go to that kind of an event because people are only there because they want to meet other people. You don't have to feel self conscious about approaching them. It might still be difficult to walk into a room full of strangers, so I'd recommend starting out slowly. Just tell yourself you'll give it 20 minutes and then you're allowed to leave. You can even set a timer if you want. There's not going to be anything that's so scary that you won't be able to put up with it for 20 minutes or half an hour. And the other thing you can do is locate the host when you arrive or the organizer or whatever. Tell them you're new, tell them you're nervous, ask them if they'll introduce you to some people. They're going to want to help you because they want their event to be successful and for everyone to feel comfortable. And just keep in mind that you're not going to be the only nervous person there.
I love that. I love that. You can do 20 minutes. You can do anything for 20 minutes. So I like that because I'm a natural introvert. I could see myself though, if I could say, all right, just do it for 20 minutes. I could get my butt in gear and do it. So I like that. I like that.
You
What
can definitely talk for 20 minutes. I've heard you do it.
I'm good at rambling, but the whole sales process. So what do you say to people at these events? Do you have some type of elevator pitch or strategy like that?
No, I used to try doing elevator pitches and, all that usual sales talk crap, but I don't think I'm a natural at it. Like, it made me feel extremely uncomfortable doing anything that makes me seem pushy or too obviously like I'm after somebody's business. So my goal now is just to have a normal conversation. I just keep it simple, make eye contact, smile, introduce myself, and then I ask, what do you do? People are usually very happy to talk to someone who's interested in their business. And then they'll say, what do you do? And I'll tell them. And sometimes they'll say that they're looking for a graphic designer or they know somebody who needs a graphic designer. And they'll ask for my details. And here's one trick that I've learned. I never take business cards to these events. If somebody asks for my business card, I say that I don't have one, truthfully, because I want to get their contact details so that I can follow up with them because if you wait for them to follow up with you, it's a lot less likely to happen. I ask usually if we can connect on LinkedIn, and then I send them a message the next day saying, "Nice meeting you at the event. Would you like to set up a time to discuss your project?" And that's it, really. It's not rocket science. I also feel like it's important that you go to these events and don't have a goal like, I'm going to meet somebody who will become a client, because that way you can end up discouraged and disappointed if it doesn't happen. Because, like every other marketing method, it only pays off a small percentage of the time. So just make your goal to be that you're going to make some connections and grow your network. That's more easily achievable. Just consider it a success if you manage to connect with two or three other people, because if you do that often enough, it does eventually pay off. And if nothing else, you go out for the evening and you have a drink or two, you're going to be no worse off than you were before the event.
That's amazing, and maybe you'll, meet a friend.
Doesn't always have to be about money.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, we got to know each other, and it was through freelancing, but we weren't trying to sell each other something, but I think, we help each other out when we can sort of thing. I love it. Okay. You do use freelancing websites in addition to networking. So, can you estimate how much of your leads come from Upwork versus other platforms?
It's hard to say. It's really varied from year to year. Last year, I think only 5% of my business came from Upwork and maybe 20% from LinkedIn, and the rest was repeat business and referrals. The best year that I ever had on Upwork was in 2021 during the pandemic. And even then, only about half of my new clients were from there. But it's been going downhill since then. It's become more difficult and more expensive, as you know, and I use it less and less. I've also tried out Freelancer and Bark.com, and I got a few gigs that way. But I don't like relying on any of the freelancing websites. There's just so much competition, and I don't put much effort into using them. I could probably get more business by setting more proposals, but I just haven't needed to lately.
How often do you go to events? How often do you set aside time to go to each event?
Well, it depends on whether I'm looking for new clients or not. Since Christmas, it's been pretty slow. So I set myself a goal that I was going to go to 3 events last week, and I did. One of the events, I walked in the door, I chatted with the organizer a bit. He said, what do you do? I said, I specialize in presentations. And he says, oh, there's someone in this very room who's looking for a presentation designer. He pointed to a gentleman at the bar. In this case, I did march up and say, I hear you're looking for a presentation designer. I wanted to introduce myself. And yeah, I had his business card in my pocket before 15 minutes were up.
Aren't you a little charismatic charmer? That's awesome. I love it. I love it. Um, how much time do you give yourself to figure out if a platform is worth it?
Well, at this stage of my career, I expect things to pay off quite quickly because I know what I'm doing. And if a website is charging me to send proposals and taking up my time and money, I probably wouldn't stick around for more than a month or two without some results, because that would be enough time to determine whether it's going to work out or not. But I would give different advice to new freelancers. I would say you'll need to be patient because it's going to be more of a learning curve for you. If I was starting out now on a website like Upwork, I would think I would have to give it at least 6 months. And after that, if I was still spending more money than I was earning, I'd probably call it a day. But as you know, freelancers are always asking what is the best website, and they want to put all their efforts into that one outlet. If that doesn't work out, that's when they'll try another website. I think if it's free to use a platform, go ahead and join, because what have you got to lose? A couple of years ago, I got a message from a woman who said that she had seen my profile on People Per Hour. And I didn't even remember joining People Per Hour. I hadn't logged in for at least 8 years, judging by how old the portfolio was. And then here I was getting a message out of the blue. And this person became one of my best clients who regularly gives me work. You just never know. So why not try everything? I've got profiles all over the place, and I don't really spend much time and effort on them. I update my rating portfolio every now and again in case there's another situation where my rate is from 6 years ago and someone finds me. But even if something else rarely leads to a new client, if you've got enough methods that pay off a small percentage of the time, then you'll stay in business. But I would say that LinkedIn is currently the website that works best for me.
Do you network or write on your LinkedIn profile? I see a lot of mixed opinions on this where freelancers will tell you to constantly write content over and over, like once a day, once a week, something like that to get clients on LinkedIn. Do you do anything like that?
No, like you mean making posts? Like on,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, the people they network with, they comment on their posts. They write articles. Like LinkedIn has a content platform where you can write articles. They're constantly present and try to gain visibility on LinkedIn. Do you do any of those types of strategies?
No, and it's quite embarrassing. I should be doing more of that, and if I needed work more, I would be more incentivized. I don't like using social media. I would much rather go to networking events than come up with stuff to post every single day. I think the last time I actually posted content on my own was a whole year ago, but I do occasionally like and comment on posts that my connections make, but it's almost entirely passive. The clients I get from there do searches, they find my profile and they message me, not the other way around. About a year and a half ago, I did spend a whole day. I literally Googled, how do I increase my business on LinkedIn? And I implemented some of the suggestions, and that did lead to a big increase in my views. Like one of the things they recommended was to add the open to work graphic onto your profile photo and go through the identity verification. So I did quick, simple things like that. And apparently that helped my profile to stand out. I would recommend doing whatever makes sense for you, whatever you've got time to do.
That's really interesting because I don't think I've done the profile verification. That's really cool. Okay. Have you ever tried the paid LinkedIn to see your stats?
Yeah, occasionally, only when they offer me a free trial, I'll take advantage, but I've never paid for it. I don't feel that it's really worth it for me. If I were going to spend money to increase my opportunities on LinkedIn, I would rather hire a marketing specialist and help them come up with a strategy for me because I think that would be a better investment. And I should also make the point that you don't have to do all of your marketing yourself. You can hire other freelancers to come up with a social media strategy or find leads for you or do email campaigns, not just on LinkedIn, but Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. But there are lots of other options out there.
Have you ever hired somebody to help you with marketing strategy or it's all been you?
Not yet, but I found a lead generation specialist on Upwork. If I were going to do another email campaign, I would get a list from her. I have hired marketing and copywriting people in the past to give me advice on improving my proposals. And I once hired an Upwork coach who gave me some semi useful advice. So, yeah, I would rule out doing it again. Why not
Very
take
cool.
advantage of other people who have expertise that you don't have?
So you do LinkedIn, which is kind of global, and then you do some Upwork, which is global, and then you do local events. How many clients would you say are local versus how many global in your roster?
Currently about 50-50, but that's mostly because my longer term clients were originally from the freelancing websites. Probably 90% of my newer clients that I've met in the past year or two are local, though.
So what do you do to target your local market?
As I said, most of my local clients find me on LinkedIn or I find them at networking events. And the other thing that I do is that whenever I walk into a small business in my neighborhood, I try to strike up a conversation. I no longer print up flyers and ask them directly for work, but I will go in during a quiet time, like on a Tuesday morning when it's not busy, and just get into a conversation, ask questions about the merchandise, say, oh, this is really nice, or when did you open? And usually the owner or manager is happy to talk to me if they've got no other customers because they're pretty bored. And when they find out I'm a graphic designer, sometimes they'll say, oh, I've been looking for someone to design a sign or a business card. And then I offer my services. It happens really naturally without me specifically trying to sell myself.
Interesting. So you've told me in the past that you sometimes barter. Do these engagements work out long term and have you had any disasters?
Oh, yeah, they absolutely work out really well. I love doing that kind of thing. It makes my services a lot more affordable for small businesses. So, for example, I recently designed a cocktail menu for a bar in my neighborhood in exchange for them giving me a free bar tab for a month. And that saved them money because obviously it doesn't cost them that much to provide me with free drinks. They're getting their alcohol at cost. And so I was really happy to get free drinks instead of cash because I spend a lot of my money in there anyway. So it was win win for both of us. And they were happy with the menus. Now I go in and they know me and they'll chat and they'll introduce me to their other customers and go, Christine's graphic designer, she did our menus. And then I've got even more connections without having to lift a finger. I did have one situation where an actor friend of mine asked me to design programs for a theater production that he was involved in. And when he asked me how much it would cost, I said, oh, that's okay. You can just buy me drinks the next time we go out. And he said, no, I've seen how much you drink. I'd rather just pay you. That was the only time it didn't work out.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. What about online marketing? Any advice about that?
Yeah, as you know, you and I have both gotten to chatting in the Upwork community on Reddit and previously in the Upwork community forum. And I've gotten business that way. Other freelancers have hired me, outsourced work to me, and referred me to their own clients. Because basically, if people get to know you and like you, then they're just more likely to hire you. And you yourself referred me to one of your clients not
Yes.
too long ago, and I was very grateful for that. But I would never do what some people do. Like, you remember Upwork was encouraging other freelancers to reach out to you and ask for work, and it was just
Yeah.
so off-putting. Like, that didn't last long, right? Did you get a
No.
lot of messages?
I did, and I was a little annoyed by it, but I couldn't be mad at the freelancers. That's what Upwork was telling them to do.
It happens to me a lot on LinkedIn too. People going, "Hey, can you give me some work?" I'm just not likely to do a favor for a total stranger. If you're going to approach other freelancers for work, it's best done in person at networking events. At two recent events that I've been to, I spoke with a couple of guys who are starting out as graphic designers, and they connected with me on LinkedIn. And I'm a lot more likely to outsource to them after having met them and liked them. Whereas if they had simply cold contacted me on LinkedIn, I would have ignored it. So get to know people first without having an agenda, and some work will probably come your way.
Awesome. I love that advice. Any other advice or tips, generally speaking, for freelancers that maybe are introverted, even if they're extroverted and just want to go out and try to sell their services?
Well, I would say the most important thing to remember when you're trying to build up your business is to focus on client retention. When you find a good client, go above and beyond, do your best work, provide excellent customer service so that you form lasting relationships. And then they'll not only give you repeat business, they'll usually refer you to other clients without you even having to ask. So if you're an introvert, that is just the easiest way to get business. And don't be afraid to follow up with previous clients if you haven't heard from them in a while. Like I said, work has been slow for me ever since the Christmas holidays. So last week, I just messaged one of my clients that I haven't heard from in a while. And I was very upfront saying, I'm looking for work at the moment. I'd really appreciate it if you keep me in mind. And he gave me a new project the very next day. So that was a whole lot easier than sending out proposals on Upwork to attract new clients.
Very cool. I love that you brought a more natural, organic marketing strategy to this episode because I feel like the Upwork strategy is very rigid, but you just have this natural, like, hey, I'm here. You want to give me some business? And it works for you.
Great. I know a lot of people are really struggling with the freelancing websites because of all the competition. Don't hold to the idea that this is the only way to get clients. I hope some people will have listened to this episode and will try networking and see if it works out for them. And my motto is nothing ventured, nothing gained. It's not as hard as you may think. And I promise you, it will get easier the more you practice.
Yes, and I will be taking some of this advice myself because I am a strict Upwork person and you make it seem easy. I like the idea of just give yourself 20 minutes to just talk and you can leave after that, but chances are you'll walk away with perhaps either a friend or a client. If you have any networking methods that have worked well for you, please leave us a comment and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Our next episode is going to be all about how to use Upwork, so watch out for that. Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.